Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wild Moments brought to you by explore.org. As you can see, I'm a lone ranger today, which means I'm going to need extra help from all of you as we go through some of the best clips from the last weeks, because that's what Wild Moments is all about. And of course, having some really interesting discussions. So please send through your questions and your comments, because as usual, we are live. Even though I'm by myself, I have all of you to keep me company, which is actually one of my favorite things. I so look forward to Tuesdays and Thursdays when I get to spend, particularly Thursdays these days, where I get to spend the time with all of you and get to see your lovely comments and feel like I'm in a community that loves and appreciates not just wildlife, but learning about all their intricacies and the fascinating things about them. So first up, before we get stuck into our cool clips, we have a whole lot of hellos coming through. I have nobody to ask me how I'm doing. How are all of you doing? Then I'll tell you how I'm doing. Mindy Tillipal says, yay, any time spent with wildlife and Trishala is bound to be filled with interesting discussions and surprising moments. I hope you haven't lost me. Did you lose me there? Am I back? I hope so. No, all good, all good. Great. I was just reading Mindy's comment. You said that you're really interested and you're happy to be spending time with some interesting discussions and surprising moments. And me. Tris Vissup says, hello, everyone. Before I get into Tris's one, I must just say that before the show started, or as I was waiting for the show to start, I was actually thinking about you, Mindy. And I was thinking about the fact that I haven't had the time to really learn as much as I would like to. So usually I keep up to date with a whole lot of things and I learn new things all the time. But in the last couple of weeks, I've been so busy, I haven't had the opportunity to like learn new things, which is so sad, right? It's actually one of my, so I have about the next month off, which is fantastic. And one of the things I want to do is start learning more. And I was thinking about you, Mindy, because I was like, well, what am I going to talk to Mindy about now? But I'm sure something will always come up. Tris Vissup says hello, and she's very grateful for these shows. And they let you keep up the wildest moments, or keep up with the wildest moments on the cam. Absolutely. And there have been some pretty wild moments. Dear NC says, good morning from Seattle on your second cup of coffee and very ready for the show. Second cup of coffee. Wow. I'm a 1 cup of coffee per day gal, and today I'm just water. Amber Co is waving hello, sipping coffee, of course, and you're enjoying a blueberry muffin. And thank you for today's show. Very nice. Mr. H UAE 87, no cake today? Just red tea, but you're happy, and you say happy Thursday to everyone. And Zygote says namaste, namaste to you too, Zygote. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Now I'll tell you how I am doing. I'm doing very well, much better now that I have this break in the day where I can spend it with all of you and just watch the clips and basically do the original thing that got me involved in wildlife and wildlife media, I suppose, in the first place. And I've been going to lots of interesting places and doing lots of interesting things, but I always come back to this because I really do like, well, really do love just the element of truly being in the bush and seeing it live and not in a scripted or edited documentary, just as it is. That's why I love Africam and I love being in the bush. So it promises to be a good one, everyone. So remember to keep your questions coming and let's head over to our first clip. We're going to have a look at the black eagle chick and how it's doing. It's almost fledging. Hopefully we'll catch the first flight. Oh my gosh, it's so huge. I know this is probably a stupid thought. But I was looking. Okay, I'll tell you after the clip. But I'm at the moment thinking about, this feeling when you stand at the edge of a building and you look down and you get this like slight turn in your stomach. And I'm not afraid of heights or anything like that, but you still get this kind of thought. Oh, hello. You were still very aware of the fact that it's a long way down. And how for birds, that's not even a thing. Far better than us. There we go. That's mom or dad that's just arrived. And I think that type of behavior, it looks and sounds a lot like begging. And at this stage, the adults will still be bringing food for the chick. That was very, very cool. Um, like I was saying, the adult returned, and then we started to hear this squealing and this begging sort of movement. And I think that was definitely the chick still begging. Now that baby is going to fledge around the middle of this month, which should be around the 3 month mark age-wise. But they could still stay together for another 6 months before that baby will actually be kicked out and sent to go look for its own territory. And in that 6 month period, the parents could still bring food for that chick. So it's not unusual to hear and see sorts of begging behavior. So, ooh, hi, Karu. Quite a question here. You say birds usually only have one nest, unlike this bird, as far as you are aware. So is it normal for an unfledged juvenile to take off exploring like this? It would seem to me that it's not usual. So this is interesting behavior. It was gone for a long time, so you got worried and it finally came back. So that was good. Um, I wonder if it actually flew away, or did it sort of just kind of hop to areas at the bottom? Because when they truly fledge and are truly taking flight, they can do a proper flight, although they may kind of round not far from the nest. They kind of like jump off, do a little bit of a loop, and then come back. But when it comes back, it might not land at the spot where we have the camera. So it might land behind. If you saw, or if you heard rather, when the camera was pointing towards the chick and the chick was looking at the camera, there was something happening behind the camera and we could hear shuffling. So I think that there might be a spot on the other side where the somebody landed. So perhaps the chick was also in that area because we could definitely hear something. Kes said there was no jumping or hopping around the rocks as far as we could see with the camera. And then part of your other question, which, oh, Kes says no, it was actually gone in flight. Oh, never mind. She said no, as in it didn't fly. Oh, so that makes sense. I think it just landed on maybe the other side. The other question or other part of your question was that birds usually only have one nest. That is true. They don't usually have multiple nests in a single breeding season. I mean, even that, they might have multiple nests in a breeding season if they have multiple partners, or if they are unsuccessful at one particular nest and it's still the breeding season, then they could produce another clutch and use a different nest. So that's not uncommon, but having a second nest concurrently while you still have chicks is unusual. But it's nothing it's nothing to be worried about if the chick moves off and then comes back, because it's all part of the whole practice period. And even though it will fledge technically around the middle of this month, it's still going to be like, might even take another 3 months before it's actually gone and off to look for its own territory. MG Leopard Spots, you say, hi, always looking forward to the Wild Moments show. Ice water now, ice espresso soon. Very nice. Casper's Dead Ghost says, happy Thursday, everyone. Enjoying a hot cup of coffee in Milwaukee because it's chilly. Very good. It's getting very warm here in Johannesburg, and the trees are starting to throw out new leaves. I'm seeing blooms, so it's an amazing time of the year. And April Owl says, good morning, everyone from sunny Connecticut. You've just finished your apple fritters and you're ready for the show. Well, we just had a look at the Black Eagle chick. So we are very excited to see all the developments. You could see that it's still behaving like a baby, still begging, still producing those sounds, but very soon that's going to change. But even when you see juvenile, because obviously it doesn't have its adult plumage, right? It's going to take another couple of years before it gets its adult plumage, that nice black with the white V on the back. And this is quite common for birds of prey, that they have this juvenile plumage, have fledged, and I suppose fled from their parents' home. They're fledged, they still have their juvenile plumage, and they're looking for their own territory. This is quite common, and that makes it quite difficult to actually ID the birds when they're at this stage because they can look a bit, well, unlike the adult, which makes things difficult. But it's common to see them around, and they can still sort of behave a little goofy. They're very, very curious. They can be very curious and a little bit silly, but also extra cautious. It just depends on their personality. You might see them trying to hunt things that adults wouldn't waste their time with because they take too much effort or something like that. So you can notice that it's a juvenile even from the behavior. And luckily, we're going to notice that hopefully when it fledges, it will still return and still have interactions with mom and dad, but we'll still see that kind of childish behavior until it's truly gone and has to fend for itself in its own territory and take care of its own territory. Okay, off to the next video. I have, excuse me, I haven't seen any of these, as you know. So let's head over to Aldonio, one of my favorite cameras, and see who paid a visit last night. Ooh, 2 visitors. Got a nice black-backed jackal and a cheetah. Oh, of course there would be 2. Did you see the jackal just kind of react to the cheetah and then realize, oh, nothing to react to. It's okay. Cheetah's just drinking. Jackal is so curious. Oh, that almost looked synchronized. Why? Why does why do you need to do that? And of course, this is the answer. Put your butt further up in the air, out of the jackal's way, except it's now at jackal head height. It always makes me wonder. Ooh, I thought we had Kelly there for a moment. Sorry, everyone. It always makes me wonder, so many of the times that we see these different species interacting, especially if it's a bit cheeky like this, they always seem to go for the behind of animals. Always. And then I was starting to think about this and why go for the butt? But it also makes perfect sense because all the senses of an animal is, or a mammal, I mean, I suppose vertebrates are focused around the head. So that's where they're able to see, to hear, to smell mostly. But all those senses are focused around the head. So by going for the behind, and like Zygote says, nip it in the bum, it means that you can avoid all those detecting abilities that are centered around the head. And it's also a vulnerable place. That's I suppose, probably one of the most vulnerable areas in an animal. The skin in that area is soft. You have an opening to your body in that area, so it means that you can easily get infections. So you don't just have to worry about the occasional jackal that's going to nip your butt, but you also have to worry about flies and gnats and ticks, a whole lot of pests that can also hone in on that particular area. So it makes sense if you want to chase somebody away, if you want to attack somebody, or if you're just curious about them. It makes sense to go for the butt. That's not good advice, though, in a human social setting. Just saying. Anyway, you're welcome, Karu. And then Jan Powers is also hopped on. Thanks, Jan. I think you've jumped in at just the perfect moment when we're giving out etiquette advice here. Do not pinch bottoms, unless, of course, you're really feeling threatened and there's no way out. All right, let's head over to the next clip. This time we're going over to Lentore, and I'm really looking forward to this because all Kirst has said to me is that it's another funny looking baboon. So let's see. Okay, everyone's looking fairly good. Oh, look at that guy. Oh my goodness. Whoa. Whoa, sorry. I was just checking with Kirst if there was a video of a different funny looking one because I wanted to know because I haven't seen the other baboon that had a similar def oh yes, maybe I have seen this one. Okay, so this was a different one. Now I want you, this is a very obvious injury. You can see it clearly, right? So this is from a different week, but also at Lentore. But I want you to now also pay attention to the mouths or the frontal area of the normal looking baboons and see how entire it is. Have a look at the top left corner and you can see that face and you can see how entire it is. You can see that the cheeks are complete and the area below the nose, kind of its upper lip, is intact as well. Okay, so I just wanted to look for comparison. I think when we saw this one, we discussed that this looks like an old injury. And now we're in the clip from today. You can see a very different type of injury, but in a similar area. And you can see that it's not entire, it's basically lost its entire upper lip. So when we see it drink now, it's got to kind of gulp it. It's got to bite at the water. Quite similar to a hippo, actually. That is very, very interesting. And both these injuries that we saw, the one before with like the cheek was gone, and this one where the upper lip is gone, both look quite old. You can see that it's healed, it's rounded, and you usually see that when there's healing because as a flesh wound heals, skin has gone missing, right? So it ends up looking rounded as it becomes tighter in that area. Uh, I'd say either old injury or potentially something it was born with. Hard to tell. The teeth also look a bit damaged. Um, they kind of look like old teeth. Exactly, Mindy. I'm trying not to say that. You say he's in dire need of an orthodontist. Exactly. Like all the teeth, apart from them being very yellowed, which is quite common to see that, there's lots of gaps between the teeth, which is not common. So that to me is telling me that either an injury when it was very young, enough to disrupt the formation of those teeth, or something that it was born with. But as far as I can see, it just looks uh fleshy, at least from what we can see. But maybe in the past there was actually damage to the top upper mandible. Tris, you say it seems hard for him to drink with no upper lip. Absolutely. I mean, think about us, and their facial structure is quite similar to us, except that the bottom mandible sticks out a bit more. And so they have these long, I mean, apart from other, changes in the skull, but they have a longer face. But this section where there's the mouth, the upper lip, and the jaws are pretty much the same, and the cheeks, and they drink similarly to us. We have to put our lips, like if you ever drank from a fountain or maybe from a river where you've cupped water in your hands and then you've drunk from it, you would know that you're sucking up water. But he has a lot of difficulty because he can't do that. Like if you imagine you would know upper lip, how can you create the vacuum necessary to suck up water? It's very, very difficult and basically undoable. You can't adjust something to try and create the vacuum if you just can't seal that that area. So very interesting that there's two baboons with similar-ish injuries. Another thing I thought about is potentially some sort of flesh-eating thing. I know this is going to sound weird, but I seeing them reminded me very much of being in university, and it was I can't remember what biology this lecturer took me for, but the first time I met him and through my years at university, he always had this like thing over his nose, like a big plaster over his nose. Anyway, it turns out that he had gotten some kind of flesh-eating bacteria from I don't know where. And he was trying various methods related to his lab to fix it. And he was very tall, and I am very short. And one day I got too close and I was able to see under the tinted nose of his. And it kind of looked like these baboons. It's like the flesh was a bit bulbous and shortened and tight, but rounded, you know? Anyway, that was not necessary for anybody to know, but it made me think there could have been something that was flesh eating or bacteria wise that could have caused that problem too. Anyway, he was a very good biology lecturer. Let's head over to the next clip, which is our last for the day, but it's my favorite one that I'm really looking forward to seeing. I haven't seen it at all. I've only heard about how interesting it is, how crazy it is. It's quite a long one, so it'll probably take us to the end of the show, but let's have a look. I'm not going to say too much during the clip because I really want to observe these hyenas' behaviors and then we'll discuss it afterwards. Let's head over to Nkoro. You can already see who the dominant group is. One thing I have found is that with hyenas, it feels like, whoa, that was kind of creepy. Whoa. So you might have missed it, but the original hyena that was in the water, the one that was being dominated by everyone else, actually did get away. And I did not imagine that it could be so badly injured and still be able to get away. When I say badly injured, it's because clearly those lions went there to the spot and picked up a piece of flesh that is big enough for it to sit and chew on, and then also a piece fell out. So that's a pretty chunky bit of flesh. Now, from the beginning, or something that you will notice about hyenas is that the ones that tend to make the most noise, the ones that are giggling, cackling, um, eh, kind of giving this low groan like this one, those are usually the submissive ones. The dominant hyenas are not the ones that are giving off those nervous, anxious sounds. So already off the bat, this one was being ganged up on by those three. The thing is, I'm not sure why it decided to go into the water. That would tell me that perhaps it's injured, and it's seeking refuge, or perhaps some kind of like therapeutic value of the water. It's cool, it's good for muscles. So maybe it was injured. The reaction also told me it might have been injured because normally a hyena will behave submissively if clearly there's three dominant individuals coming towards them. And being submissive doesn't usually involve drooling, growling, being open-mouthed towards the other hyenas. It would behave, it would come, put its head down, tail between its legs. It might come out of the water. It would let them smell it and all that sorts of things. So I think that hyena was already injured, but I didn't see any injury when it came out of the water. But it did not look good. Its face didn't look good. Maybe there was injuries on the face that I didn't pick up on, but maybe it was sick as well. And then as they came out, those three were still going for it. It also didn't have a tail as far as I could see. Then we have the kind of the major event where they try to take down this hyena. Now, in infrared, you'll be able to see anything wet as black. If you looked at all of their faces, even though it was super blurry and in the distance, you would have seen that a lot of their mouths were dark. Now, some of them were in the water, but they weren't full face in the water. So that tells me they got really close, either getting their muzzle wet by the fur of the hyena they were after, or they managed to get blood. I think they managed to get blood. The other option, I mean, in getting blood, maybe they tore a piece of the hyena and that's what the lions got. The other option is that maybe something was there already in the first place, and that those hyenas came to eat what the water hyena, we'll call, or the collared hyena, had. And so when all this kerfuffle went on and the hyenas got chased away by the lions, they just picked up what the other hyenas were eating. Maybe. Because that chunk of flesh that the lions picked up, I can't imagine a hyena getting up and walking away from that kind of injury. And I've seen hyenas with some pretty hectic injuries and get up and leave, but not a chunk of meat that's the size of my head, bigger even, because that's a lion's head it's the size of. I've never seen that amount of meat or flesh being gone from a hyena and it walking away. Asa Negro, you're asking, why did the hyena have a collar? There are several hyenas in the Sabi Sand where Nkoro is that have collars, and that would be for research purposes purely. Their hyenas are not endangered. They're actually one of our most numerous predators. So that would purely be for research purposes, which is really good. I mean, there's the Hyena Project in the Mara, which does excellent work that we read so many of their publications. So similar things coming out of the Sabi Sand here in South Africa is fantastic. Bindi, my thought exactly. You asked, could it be ribbon? There was no tail, but I didn't see ribbon's telltale ear, her bee. So I don't think it's ribbon, but I did have that thought as well. So I am going to have a look again at that clip and just see if I can see anything familiar. But I don't think it was ribbon. Also, ribbon is not collared. And that collar does not look new. So we will have to investigate further. But that's really interesting. And let me tell you, when it comes to hyenas having interactions like this, you can watch it over and over and over again, and you're going to pick up on something new, and you're going to learn to read them. Anyway, our time has come to an end. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for supporting me and my time as the Lone Ranger for all of you. I will see you all again next week and have a wonderful day wherever you are. And of course, keep watching the cameras. Bye for now, everyone.